Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with you as well. And we can all learn from it. And as always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, or endless social media posting. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's show, our special guest is Will Richardson. He is partnering with 51 to Carbon Zero, where they provide all sorts of different things around environment, helping businesses, the reporting software around it, quite a lot of things to help with the overall environment and what we're doing in this world, which is great. So, Will, thank you for being on the show. And I want to start off with asking you the first question I always love asking, which is this: if you were to somehow be able to go back in time to when you started your very first business, what's the number one piece of advice that you would give yourself?
Do you really want to?
Yeah.
I think what's the number one piece of advice? I think walk into it with open eyes. Make sure that you know that you're not going to be a surge, whatever they're called, from Google and I want to say Lance Armstrong, but not the guy who set up Amazon. You're not going to be that person. It's highly unlikely. Therefore, you are probably going to fall into the bucket where 99% of business owners fall into, where you've got a nice potential lifestyle but you have rocky parts but you are in control of your own destiny. So I would just say go into it with open eyes. Make sure that you understand where you're going and what you're doing. And I think that's really important because some people have the aptitude to be able to run small businesses and some people don't. And I think many people who think they have don't.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. I think people don't realize how tough it can be to run a
Yes.
business. And I've heard this said, and I love it. It's like if you ever want to go through a personal development course, start a business. It will it will force you to look at everything. You can't blame anyone else, you know? It's like you gotta look at it yourself right in the mirror for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's cool. One of the things that I love to kind of normalize is what we were talking about, those challenges. We all go through them, and I think sometimes we feel that we're the only ones that go through certain challenges. And so what I'd love to hear from you is what's the number one biggest challenge that you faced in your business over the years? And what was the lessons that you learned from that?
Running payroll and making sure that you've got 28 people on your payroll and you've got to pay them monthly. And the number one challenge that I had at parts of the last 2 or 3 years was making sure that I hit payroll. And what did I learn from that experience is be really honest and open with everyone that you work with. We've just gone through a partnership with another company, 51 to Carbon Zero, who I now work for. And one of the things that we did very early on was say, we're putting the business up for sale. And everyone came back and said, brilliant. Not many companies are that honest with people. And we just said, we're looking at it. Not that we were going to, but we were looking at it. And we brought them on the journey with us. And I bring up the payroll thing because it's quite a kind of here and now. And rather than lie and say, oh, yeah, the bank, I don't know, held up a payment or, it was, I'm really sorry, but actually a couple of clients didn't pay. And we are chasing those payments and we are trying to get that money through.
Yeah, yeah. So payroll, but it sounds like a lot of just open and honesty with
Yeah,
people, not trying to hide things
yeah,
in what
yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because people they cop onto that. They
Yes.
kind of know like, well, something's not being completely transparent here, which creates distrust. It creates curiosity in a bad way
Yeah,
around that, and the whole culture suffers because of that. So
it
yeah, it's
does.
amazing.
But it's actually very hard to be transparent. And so I don't say it glibly. I think that it's when you are transparent, you have to be able to answer to hard questions. And
Hmm.
some of those hard questions sometimes can't be answered for a variety of different reasons. And you have to be comfortable with that as well. But you have to be honest and transparent about why you can't answer those questions at that moment in time.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think it's a fair point. Yeah, absolutely. Being able to be transparent, but sometimes being transparent, say we can't answer that for certain reasons, which I know can be frustrating to people when they're asking that. Well, besides the payroll side of things, what are some of the biggest, let's say, outcomes that you've achieved in terms of, it may not even be revenue side of things, just things that you're just really proud of that when you look back, we did this, we did that. What are some of the things you're really proud of?
We were one of the first B Corps in the UK and became a B Corp. For those that don't know what B Corp is, it's a purpose-driven business standard that certifies you to the B Corporation, B Lab. I can never work out and remember which one it is. You'd have thought since 2016 I've been a part of that community, I'd know by now. But I think that and making decisions that are at the heart of a purpose-driven business economy. Those are probably the proudest things I've done over the last few years. And I've now joined a business that has exactly the same mentality as me and has that same mission and vision of putting purpose first and really trying to change our society and culture for the better.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. That's really, really cool. When you talk about aligning, you said you've joined a business now that aligns with that vision and purpose. Um, how did you go about that? Because I think that's quite a challenging thing when businesses, whether they're looking to sell or merge or partner or whatever, to find other people or businesses that align with that. What was some of the things that you did to make sure that that happened correctly, as opposed to trying to force something to happen?
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant question. The short answer is we had an intermediary. We used a company called CapEQ, which is a brokerage service, which
Mm,
they are a fellow B Corp. They were a B Corp. They are a B Corp as well. And then you interview people. You basically we had something like 15 if not more, interviews with companies that wanted to work with us in one form or another.
mm,
And you, I very quickly, you ask quite complex or quite you've got to get to the nuts and bolts very, very quickly. So you
yeah.
ask questions that you want to know the answers to rather than not, don't ask the questions that you don't want to know the answers to. And I think if you feel that you are not asking questions because you don't want to know the answers, then they're probably not the right fit for you. And yeah, we chose a company that best suited our mission and vision. And it's a bit like a date. You're going on a series of dates, and
Mm.
that's the way you have to look at it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you made that point because when you started off, I was like, oh, you just basically dated other companies,
Mm,
going out there, asking questions, finding out if there's suitability and alignment with that. And those
mm,
that weren't, hey, it's just not in alignment. Cool. Those, so you had a short list and then ended up
yeah.
moving forward with the one you had. That's a great perspective. And I think that's really I think it's key in a lot of things that businesses do. I think in our life in general, but even when you're hiring people, it's the same thing, you know?
Yes.
So on that topic, actually, around hiring, what are some of the key things that you learned in hiring staff that has helped you build what you were able to build?
I was meticulous and very I put a very rigorous process through when hiring people at the beginning. And so I was quite number orientated. So I would ask people a load of questions online to answer, i.e., what's the worst campaign that you've ever seen environmentally? What's the best campaign you've ever seen environmentally? I want to know that they think about the environment, they think about what it is that we do at the heart of what we
Mm.
do. Then I ask them to write a covering letter, and that comes in. And if I see that that's good, then we go into an interview, and I have a series of 10 to 20 questions that I ask every single person, and I would 1 to 10. So how did they answer that question? 1 to 10. And I would then pull that up, and I did all the interviewing at the beginning, even though I had other people with us. That then changed into other people would go through the process that took people through, and then I would do the final interview. And then nearer the end, when we got so many people, I allowed people within the business to choose the people that they were going to work with using that
Mm.
same methodology and process. And I think that foundation really helped us produce a series of really remarkable individuals that helped us on our journey.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um, I hear you talking a lot about systems and processes, and this is something I think a lot of businesses overlook, no matter how small, big, young, old the business is. Um, how important are for you, how important were systems and processes in the growth of the business?
Massively important, but you can't get caught up in systems and processes either. And it's a very fine line, isn't it,
Yeah,
between, going, oh, well, we need to do this, and this, and then getting lost because actually you can't deviate from where you are because of your system that you have self-imposed. And I think so you've got to have flexibility with clients and when you're quoting work and you're doing proposals, but you can't be too flexible because then you'll start to deviate away from your profit margins at the same time.
yeah, yeah. It reminds me of a quote from General Colin Powell, who was being interviewed a long time ago now during the Gulf Wars, and they said, how important is planning? And he's like, well, planning is absolutely 100% important. You have to plan. But he said, as soon as you implement the plan, the whole thing changes. So you got to be flexible.
Yes.
He's like, you
Yeah.
can't go in
Yeah.
it without planning, but you have
Yeah.
to plan.
Yeah.
But then as soon as you start, your plans go out the window and it all changes anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that's a really I always remember that because I was like, yeah, it's important. You got to have it, but you can't be so strict. Well, no, this is what the plan was.
Yeah.
Is you got to be flexible, which is what I hear you saying, which is absolutely brilliant. Well, Will, like, what is the goal over the next couple of years? I know some things have recently changed in what you've done. You've partnered with 51 to Carbon Zero. So, what's the goal for you? What are you looking to achieve?
I think for me, I'm really excited as an old business owner. I don't want to be called old. As an ex business owner,
Yeah.
I am now going back to my grassroots of really helping organizations become more sustainable, talking about that mitigation strategy they should be putting in place, doing the stuff that I love and used to love doing. So I feel in such a fortunate and amazingly kind of brilliant position to be able to do something like that. Because I think as
Yeah.
business owners, you end up running businesses, and that isn't necessarily what you wanted to do. And I know there is a part of us that always want to do that because that's why we grew those businesses. But
Yeah.
equally, there's that passion, that spark. And I'm now able to talk to CEOs and talk to C-suite about what it is that they're doing, how they're doing it, and how we can help them on that journey because I've got a
Mm.
plethora of experience of businesses that have gone through that process, and I can impart that knowledge to them.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. And you can tell the enthusiasm in the way that you say it as well, which is brilliant. So, well, for people that are wanting to learn a little bit more about yourself and what you do, what's the best place for them to contact you?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Will Richardson, William Richardson, Will Richardson. I can't remember. And I 51 to Carbon Zero. Go onto our website and you'll be able to click on me there. But I don't think I'm on that website just quite yet because it's all quite new. I don't know why I'm whispering into it. I'm on a podcast and I'm whispering into the microphone.
It's the suspense. It's good.
You can get the links on the show notes.
Amazing, amazing, wonderful. Well, Will, thank you so much for being on the show, and I do recommend everyone check out Will and check out 51 to Carbon Zero as well. And as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way to close deals that doesn't rely on any of the old traditional methods that everyone hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn, and the link to that will be in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.